Generally, I don't like having limits in a game. I don't despise them because I understand that every mechanic serves a purpose. I mean, you can't have a game that's too easy, but there are some games out there that employ mechanics that are supposed to add realism, I think, but instead they just make the things we do in the game more cumbersome. Basically, there are mechanics in games that I love even that annoy me. I'm not sure if you'll agree with everything I'm gonna be saying in this video, and you don't have to. Here are some game mechanics that, for me at least, spoils the fun in a game. To be clear, not all the fun, just when it comes up. I feel like weapon degradation isn't particularly something I like. Sure, like all the mechanics I have in this list, when done right, it's great. But one game I didn't like this mechanic on was in Fallout 3. In Fallout 3, each use of your weapon decreases its durability until it eventually breaks, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think there are items that are unrepairable or close to it. Yeah, I know the purpose of this is to force players into thinking about other strategies or avoid relying too much on one type of weapon, but weapon degradation I feel is a cheap way of doing it. I would much rather have more options given to me on how to solve a problem than to solve the same problem with lesser alternatives. I'm somewhat conflicted with weight limits. On one hand, I understand the purpose of the mechanic and how it adds to supposed realism. However, in games like Fallout 4 and Witcher 3, I feel like the main purpose for having weight limits is literally slow your movements down when you exceed the weight limit. Here's the thing. Removing it doesn't really break the game balance. In fact, it kinda stops being fun when you spend most of your time managing inventory instead of playing the good bits, you know, the combat, exploration, story. I know the games I've mentioned probably does this because you can sell loot for money. However, in both games, money is an almost limited resource. Most of the time, you can't even fully clear your inventory because local merchants don't have enough to buy off all the loot you have on you, which is frustrating because it means you have to deal with the crawling pace until you find another merchant or just throw away the stuff you've spent your time looting. I mean, I can see how it's necessary to do this in an online MMO, but single-player games should have a better system. I much prefer the limited item stacking in single-player games than an overall weight limitation, for example. Now I understand not every game needs fast travel, and to an extent it takes away from the game's atmospheric design, if that's what they were going for. If you're gonna implement backtracking in your game, have the courtesy to have us quickly get to our destination, or give us an incentive not to use fast travel. Maybe add an extra quest or reward. The Witcher 2 had this problem. It's a great game, really good, but the lack of fast travel had me feeling lost during most of my earlier playthrough. I did eventually start recognizing my way, but found myself forgetting to explore areas I've missed because I didn't want to backtrack and risk getting lost again. They found a great middle ground between fast travel and exploration in The Witcher 3, although I eventually installed a fast travel mod, so maybe I'm just spoiled. Movement speeds differ from one game to another depending on what they're trying to achieve. This complaint mainly comes from Fallout 3 and 4. It took me a long time to complete Fallout 3, not because the game was too hard or the unbelievable amount of things to do, but because traveling the wasteland was really slow. That's mainly the reason I haven't gotten back into Fallout 4. Sure, you can sprint through the wasteland, but that just eats up your stamina bar and exposes you to more danger. Look, if you're gonna do an open world game, fast travel and reasonable walking speeds and running speeds should be on top of the priority of things to have. Admittedly, I don't remember many games that have this problem, which is actually a good thing. Ever spent a whole load of cash for a random loot box in any game and you didn't get what you wanted? Sucks, doesn't it? If you're lucky, you get what you want on the first try, but when it's against you, RNG or random number generator is the most annoying thing there is in gaming. I know it's almost necessary for many games to have some kind of element of randomness, but boy oh boy, is it a bitch. It can be fun, and it's good to avoid making a game too predictable, and to an extent makes a game more challenging, especially for card games like Gwent or Hearthstone. But RNG based mechanics can really make your day or just completely fuck it up, especially if there's money involved. Well, I'm glad I got that out of my system. Honestly, all these mechanics aren't horrible if implemented properly. I mean, as long as it benefits the game and doesn't purposely do it for the sake of padding, yeah, I'm all for it. That's all I have for this video. See you guys next time.